No more than I have room for. Everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out for another video. So today, following on from my last video, which was a tip to control your clutter, and specifically your clutter where you have maybe multiples of pretty much the exact same thing, the clutter that I like to call same but different. I shared a quick tip on how to control that with a rule that I call ride or die plus one to try. So that was for categories of things like, I used the examples, for instance, of mascara, face foundations, I think I mentioned cordials, cereals, areas in your home where you have multiples of the same thing or essentially the same thing where you don't need to have too many of the same thing. Like for example, mascaras, I think I counted, I had 15. You really don't need more than one, but maybe 2 or 3 as a maximum. So that's where I put that rule in. Ride or die, my absolute favorite, plus one at a time to try so that you're not getting bored. You get a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of freedom without getting bored. But as I mentioned in that video, that doesn't work for everything in your home. So for example, clothes, shoes, accessories, DIY, arts and crafts supplies. You might have like a hobby like baking or I don't know, camping or whatever your hobby is. Those collections can quite easily get out of control with over purchasing, and then that starts to overtake your home and clutter up your home. So the one way that I have found is really good to overcome over purchasing in any one area that can't be controlled with that ride or die plus one to try rule is to just adopt a very simple rule, and it's something that I call no more than you have room for. Okay, so no more than you have room for. I just like to give my rules or guiding principles or hints or tips, catchy names or sayings, so that they're always stuck in the back of my mind, particularly when I'm out shopping or purchasing things or making decisions on new purchases. So basically, no more than you have room for, a very simple principle, but knowing you should do something that is so simple and actually putting it into action and doing it are two very different things. So in a nutshell, no more than you have room for is basically being very strict in assigning a designated space or amount of room. So this could be a drawer, it could be a shelf, it could be a cupboard, it could be a container. And that amount of room or space or the area that you have designated to hold and store that particular category of things, that is all the room that you have got for storing that stuff. Once that amount of room is full, that is it. You are not allowed to have any more of that. Hence the saying, no more than you have room for. So you assign an amount of room. For me, for my hair care products, hair care like hair masks and treatment type things, this is the size container that I am allowing myself for my entire collection of hair care-ish products. No more than I have room for means that I am not allowed to have any more than can fit in this one container. So how many people might say, yeah, well, that's pretty obvious, but maybe you have hair care products stashed in, 4 different places. You might have some in the cabinet under your bathroom sink. You might have some in your medicine cabinet. You might have some stashed in the shower. And without knowing, because they aren't all contained in the one place, you might have 4 times as much as this. Rather than spread out and stashed in multiple places throughout your home, having it contained in one place, for one thing, it shows you exactly how much you have of any one type of thing or any one kind of category. It also stops you from over purchasing because rather than spreading it out in 4 or 5 different places, you've got it all contained in the one place, so you know exactly how much you've got, and you've assigned a limit, and you're going to say, I'm not going to purchase anything else that can't fit in here because of that no more than I have room for mentality. This really helps when you apply it to control the amount of clutter or things in your home. This works well for skincare for me. I'm a bit of a skincare buff, so I do like skincare. Limiting myself to 1 or 2 is probably not going to work, I know that, but to stop it from getting way out of control, I just limit this one size container, and that is my ordinary skincare collection. That is it. That's all I'm allowing myself to have. If I want to purchase something new, something has to get used up to make room for it because I'm not allowing myself any more than I have room for. Maybe it's something like, costume jewelry or accessories or things like that. I've assigned myself this one tray for kind of fancier pieces of costume jewelry. no more than I have room for. If I want to pick up anything else, I either have to make room for it in this tray or get rid of something else to bring in a new piece. It's just that simple, no more than I have room for. Literally the simplest, most common sense tip, or it's not even a hack, it's not really even a tip. It's just really a way of thinking and about being mindful about assigning a set amount of space to control the amount of stuff that you bring into your home. Now you might think, oh, that's so simple. I don't need to put a cap on the amount of stuff, like assigning a container or a drawer or a shelf to the amount of stuff that I have. But I'm telling you, if you don't have an assigned set container or room or amount of space, unless you have got willpower coming out the wazoo and you're super disciplined, it's really easy to over purchase and end up with an entire medicine cabinet or like multiple cupboards just overflowing with skincare or whatever the items are, whatever is your weakness or your vice or your area where you over purchase. And I'm thinking that if you're watching this video, you probably do have some issues with maybe too much stuff or maybe your stuff that is cluttering up your home. So definitely try this tip. It is aces for keeping the amount of stuff that you have in your home to an acceptable limit, and it is the amount that you have decided that you are happy with. It's not someone else telling you you have a certain amount of things, or it's not someone else telling you you've got too much stuff. You're the one that has come up with and designated and assigned the amount of space or room that you are willing to allow yourself to have for any one type of thing. So you're in charge, you're setting the limits. It's just about you sticking to those limits. And sometimes that's all you need. It's just you need that little kind of boost. And maybe if you are an overpurchaser, or if you do let things get a little bit too out of control in any area, it could be anything. It could be, you know, kids' toys, it could be board games, it could be, you know, puppy dog clothes or whatever it is. Just assign that set amount of space or room for that one collection of things. And then that is your limit. I think you're much more likely to stick to it if you have set the limit and you have set the amount of space or room that you're going to allow yourself for any one thing, rather than have some random person, or rather than setting like an arbitrary number of things like those 330 closet collections or whatever. Just come up with the amount of space that you're comfortable with, that you feel like you can stick to, and it will make a huge difference to the amount of stuff that you're allowing into your home. Try it, you will love it. Honestly, it sounds so simple, but if it was so simple, why isn't everyone doing it? Why is clutter such a big issue? And why are so many people watching decluttering or controlling your clutter type videos like this one on the internet? Let's look through my house and I'll show you some examples of what I'm talking about. Workout gear, specifically gym workout gear. And sure, I do sometimes use these to film videos, but as far as gym clothes go that I wear to the gym, this is it. Gym wear, gym outfits. I've been doing Pilates for quite a few months now, and I think you can quite easily get out of control with gym clothes. Now this might be different for everyone. Obviously not everyone is going to be interested in maintaining their or limiting their collection of gym clothes. This could be anything. It could be your arts and crafts supplies, it could be a particular hobby you've got, it could be camping gear, it could be literally anything. Anything where you know you can get out of control if you don't set limits on the amount that you're allowing yourself. For me, the easiest way to put a limit on is to assign or designate a certain space or a container and contain that collection of things to that space. That is the limit. We are not going more. So you allow yourself the room. It might be a drawer, it might be a shelf, it might be a cabinet, it might be a whole container. Whatever it is, you assign that room for that collection. And I have that saying, no more than you have room for. So I'm not allowing myself any more than I have room for. So I have allowed this much room for my gym wear collection. That's it. No more than I have room for. So I've got a bit of space at the back. If I want to add to the collection, I'm sure I could put in a few extra things. But if I wanted to get anything else, it would have to fit in this drawer because that's all the space I've allocated for my gym wear collection. I know myself well enough. If I go to Lorna Jane or if I go to any sports store and I see these nice pretty pairs of leggings, I could quite easily over purchase more than I need and more than I have allocated. So just having that little rule in the back of my mind, no more than I have room for. That is what has worked for me to put a cap or a control or a limit on over purchasing and stopping the amount of things that you're buying in any one area from taking over your home and leaving it feeling cluttered. Now I know I mentioned gym clothes, but maybe that's not your thing. So I'm talking like maybe arts and crafts supplies. I'm not really an arty, crafty type person. I don't do DIYs or anything like that, but I do like doing bullet journaling. And I've seen my fair share of bullet journaling videos on YouTube to know that the supplies of pens and all that kind of paraphernalia can quite easily get out of control. I've seen people who have whole rooms dedicated to their arts and crafts, or a whole wall of shelves for bullet journaling supplies. For me, I have allowed myself one drawer out of my 2 desk drawers, and this is dedicated to where I'm allowing my bullet journaling supplies and collection to be limited to. So it's no more than I have room for. If I want anything else, I'll either have to reorganize it, double up pens in the one organizer, which I'm not a fan of doing. This is just a great way to cap my limit, to cap and limit my collection to just this space and this amount of things. It stops it from getting out of control, out of hand, which it quite easily can do. Now these particular examples of areas, they might not be an issue for you, but this is just, I'm giving you an example of what I mean in my house. Maybe you have like a ton of baking supplies. Maybe you're a very avid home baker, or maybe you're a cupcake baker and your baking collection has just gotten a little bit out of control. Maybe think about allocating one cabinet or a certain number of shelves or a certain number of drawers to housing your baking supplies and your baking supply collection. And then that way you won't feel like it is overtaking your home and your collection is getting out of control. Just having that little rule in the back of your mind can sometimes be enough to stop you from impulse purchasing or over purchasing. Just having that to stop you and say, no, I know I've got just that drawer to be able to fit everything. I don't think I'm ready to get rid of anything, so I'm going to pass on that purchase. Now, I had a huge problem with organization and storage containers and bits and pieces. Fair enough, it is my job. It is how I make a living, making YouTube videos on cleaning, storing, organizing type content. But I had a huge problem because I had not a huge amount of space to store it all, so I had it stashed all about the house. So one day I decided I would just gather it all together, go through, get rid of what I wasn't using, and then rehome it. This cupboard here is my cleaning, organizing, storage, and decor. So all of my organizing, all of my storage, all of my extra decor pieces, and all of my cleaning supplies are now all stored and contained in this one cupboard, and this is it. That's it. No more. No more than I have room for. If I can do it, you can too. To do this properly, like to the extent that I did it, takes a little bit of time and a little bit of planning, but it is well worth it, I promise you. So what I did was I went through my home and I listed all the storage spaces that I had. So I listed like my hallway storage cupboards, my storage drawers in this cabinet, the storage drawers in my TV cabinet, Kallax unit, bookshelves, the pantry. I listed all of my bedroom storage and organizing areas under my bed, the outdoor storage, my little she shed that I've got on my balcony. I listed literally every single storage area. Within those areas, I even listed sometimes drawers and shelves within those storage areas. So I then went through my home and I listed all of the areas or categories of things that I wanted to organize, that needed to be reorganized, or that I just wasn't happy with the current state of organization. So this was things like all of my home storage and organizing containers and items, all of my cleaning supplies, all of the home decor, bits and pieces that aren't currently being used to decorate the home, but I still want to keep to be able to switch out. I also wanted to organize all of my gardening supplies, all of my like painting and home maintenance DIY type supplies. Also wanted to organize all of my like home office supplies, and then do a bit of a declutter and organize of all of my closet. So clothes, shoes, accessories, jewelry, and then also makeup. Then I had those 2 lists. So my organizing spaces and my categories or things that I wanted to organize. So I then kind of went through and I tried to work out in my mind a bit of a plan, map out a bit of an idea of where I thought would be a good place to store them from a size space. So to make sure that the amount of things that I had fit in the place that I wanted to store them. And then also from a real estate point of view, I had to think about how often I use those items and how frequently and easily I needed the access to be. So for example, the things that I need to use every day, it would make no sense to store in my underbed storage because that would be a total pain in the butt to get into there every day. So matching up those and coming up with a bit of a game plan in the first place is critical. It does take a little bit of trial and error, and you're not going to get it right the first time, but you know what? This isn't rocket science. We're not curing cancer. We are decluttering and organizing the home. So don't stress if you don't get it right. Just keep trying and tweaking until you get it to work just right for you. So once you've got your things that you need to store and your spaces that you've got available to store them, you try and marry them up to make the best of what you've got. And then to stop those collections of things from getting out of hand, that storage area or that designated space, it could be a container, it could be a shelf, it could be a cupboard, it could be a drawer. That designated space becomes the space and the only space for that category of items. So for example, I mentioned before my gym wear. It is in one drawer, and that is the limit to my gym wear collection. Very simply, no more than you have room for. You allocate a specific space for storing that particular collection, and that is it. That is the room you've allocated for it. And then I just say no more than I've got room for. So I've designated a drawer for my bullet journaling supplies. That is it. I'm not allowing myself to have any more bullet journaling supplies than can fit in that drawer. No more than I have room for. It is such a simple rule, and you think, wow, just allocating a specific space for something. But when you put it actually into practice and you physically actually do it, it makes a huge difference. Even in just having that little mindset shift of when you are maybe out and about shopping or going to pick up a few bits and pieces, if you see something that you might like to add to that collection, I don't think I'm ready to get rid of anything, so I'm going to pass on that purchase. So guys, that about wraps up today's video. Short, sweet, and to the point. This simple rule has really helped me from over purchasing or from just limiting myself to a set amount of stuff and no more, and that is it. So no more than I have room for. And it is so simple, but trust me when I tell you, it works wonders for controlling things that can otherwise quite quickly and easily get out of control, out of hand, and leave your home feeling completely cluttered. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I will leave the video that I filmed on my ride or die plus one to try rule in the description below. I think you'll love it if you haven't seen it already. Subscribe if you're not already. Hang out and watch a few more videos. I'll leave some linked in the description that I think you'll love. Have a fabulous day, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone.